So starting off with the deck profile here, we have triple Ether, the Heavenly Monarch. I think we know that this card is absolutely crazy for Monarchs. There was a reason that this and Pantheism were the only cards hit in the ban list for years. If you don't know what Ether does, is on a quick effect, he can tribute summon himself during your opponent's turn. And when he is tribute summoned, he can special summon a big Monarch out of the deck. And that will usually be your triple of the Erubis, I believe is how you say his name. And Rubis is very, very good as well. He actually provides some sort of disruption. On his tribute summon, he can basically shuffle a card from the, I believe it's field, graveyard, or hand, but the hand has to be random, back into the deck. So it's kind of nice. And if he is in your graveyard, he can recur himself back to the hand. So it's very cool, and these guys are basically the heart and soul, and you're going to want to be tribute summoning them as often as possible. To help with that, we have triple of the Idea, the Heavenly Squire. On normal or special summon, you can special summon a monster with the same stats, which is usually an Idios, and that gives you the extra normal summon. So this gets Idios straight out of the deck, so I think it's a mandatory 3 of. I see a lot of people playing 2, and then they're playing Rota or 1-for-1. I think just play 3, and you don't have to play Rota or 1-for-1 that way, because you just hard see the copies instead. And also, if this card is sent to the graveyard, you target one of your banished Monarch spell or traps and add it to your hand. Usually Pantheism, because Pantheism is the best Monarch spell or trap that exists. For 2 of double Eidos, I sort of mentioned him before. When he is summoned, he gives you that additional normal summon, which is nice, because that means you'll have 2 bodies on the field, and now you can tribute summon over them. And when he is sent to the graveyard, he adds you, well, he can special summon Idea back to the field, which is nice, and then he can get another Adios. For your tribute summons, we have double of the Majesty's Fiend. This card is really nice. Basically, neither player can activate monster effects. That's basically what he does, and then you just poke him with it. And we also have his brother. I apologize for the proxy, but it is of course double of the Vanity's Fiend. So we have Majesty's Fiend and Vanity's Fiend. Yeah, I apologize for the proxies. Majesty's Fiend is searchable, which is nice because he has the stats, whereas Vanity's Fiend is not. He has too much defense, but they're still very nice. And if you get both of them on the field, I'm pretty sure you just win the game. For 1 of, we have the one Kuraz, the Light Monarch. You can sort of summon him, blow up your own cards and draw cards. Worst case scenario, you can blow up your opponent's cards and then they draw as an extra form of disruption. Usually what the main thing is, you're going to be tribute summoning him, and you're going to be targeting your own Return of the Monarchs. Return of the Monarchs is going to search, and then you're going to blow it up, and then you're going to draw a card. And to wrap up the monsters, we have double of this guy. I don't really know how to say his name. Amchafurit or something like that. All he does is he special summons himself, and then you can tribute summon, and he banishes himself. And worst case scenario, if he's in the pendulum zone, you can blow himself up and draw a card. That puts a card in your extra deck, so I don't usually use that effect, because we have a lot of cards that rely on us having no cards in the extra deck. On for the spells. Triple Pantheism of the Monarchs, sort of surprise. This card is absolutely ridiculous, guys, and sort of the reason why Monarchs took over when the structure deck was released. This is probably one of the best draw cards I've ever seen. It sends one Monarch spell or trap from your hand to the graveyard, and you draw 2 cards. That isn't once per turn. So that is really, really nice. You can send the other Monarch spells and traps that actually want to be in the graveyard, like the Prime Monarch trap, and then you can banish yourself and bring yourself back. And then when it's in the graveyard, you can banish it, reveal 3 Monarch spells or traps from your deck, and your opponent chooses one of them. And you can reveal 3 of the exact same name, guys. So this card is a mandatory 3 of. I don't care what anyone says. There's a reason that this card took so long to come after this. It's ridiculous. We're playing triple Domain of the Monarchs. Now this card is really, really nice, especially in a Monarch deck. I see like sometimes True Dracos splash this card in as sort of spicy tech, but it works really well in Monarchs, believe it or not, because it is the field spell. And basically, while you have no cards in your extra deck and you control a tribute summon monster, your opponent cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck. So you just completely lock them out of the extra deck, which is nice. And then if you tribute summon a monster and it attacks, it gains 800 attack, which sort of comes up. And then once per turn, you can reduce the level of a monster in your hand by 2. So you can target your big Monarchs, reduce the level by 2, and now they need 1 tribute instead of 2. So really, really amazing field spell. I'm also running triple Tenacity of the Monarchs. I don't know if 3 is the correct play. I know I see a lot of people play 2 because it It is sort of a consistency piece, but it doesn't get you the cards that you need if you brick. If you brick and you have this card, it's not going to help you unbrick, if you know what I mean. But it does get you more cards back to your hand. So I think 3 of it, you can cut down to 2, but 3's been working fine for me. We have triple of the Monarch's Stormforth. This is the card that makes everything crazy, guys. During your turn or your opponent's turn, it's a quick play, flip it and you contribute one of their monsters instead of one of yours. And that tribute summoning is so difficult to play around. I don't think you can, because at any point if you activate this, you can just tribute one of your opponent's monsters. And there's really no counterplay to it. So a really, really nice card. And I mentioned it before, we have the 1 return of the Monarchs. Sort of nice. If you tribute summon while this card's on the field, you get effects, you can add a monster with 2,400 or 2,800. And then if you summon Kuraz, make sure that this is on the chain link. Make sure this resolves before Kuraz, because if Kuraz pops it, it won't resolve, because continuous spells and traps need to remain on the field to resolve. So just make sure that if you are tribute summoning your Kuraz, that this resolves before the Kuraz pops it. For generic spells, double pot desires, a lot of 3-ofs as you can see, and sort of helps you draw cards. This deck is very bricky still, even with all the draw power. This deck is incredibly bricky, so you got to be careful with that and just play the desires. And it's not too bad if you banish like 2 of each Monarch, because they're sort of recurable, Ether and the Adios anyways. So as long as you have 1 of each, you're good. Spicy tech I'm playing, Double Book of Moon. I think this card is really good going first or second. Going first, you can set it, and then you can disrupt your opponent, and going second, it really helps into the Kashtira matchup. The Kashtira matchup sort of struggles anyway, because you don't have an extra deck, so they can't Diabolus you, because you have nothing to banish from the extra deck anyway. But it helps sort of put the Uri's Heart face down, and then that means your Pantheisms are online, and then you can sort of break the board that way. And then we have the 1 Change of Heart, not Mind Control. Mind Control doesn't let you tribute the monster you take. Change of Heart does, so that is why we're playing this. And we also have, for the traps now, double the Prime Monarch. This card's really nice. This is going to be your main target with Pantheism that you want to send to the graveyard. And if you don't know what it does, is it can banish another Monarch spell or trap, which is fine, because as I said, Edea can get the Mac, and it special summons itself. And if it's on the field, you can flip it up and then shuffle 2 Monarch spell or traps back into your deck and draw a card. And then we have double the Monarch's Erupt, which is your sort of in-deck skill drain, except it only affects your opponent as long as you control a tribute summon monster. So that is the deck profile.